Miss Ciara Lawless from all the way from Dublin. Ciara, good morning. How are you?
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me on the show.
No, that's our pleasure. Believe you me, we don't often get pleasures, but it's one of ours this morning. What's the weather like in Dublin?
It's kind of a miracle at the moment because the last 2 weeks we've had rain pretty much continuously, and it's just beautifully and sunny today, and I think promise for the rest of the week. So it's amazing.
Oh, this is it. I think we've had 2 or 3 days, not too bad days, but this morning is a bit miserable looking. But it's going to get better towards the end of the week. All right, now listen. Tell me all about it. When did you start your music career?
So I guess, when I was younger, I had a grandparent that really kind of encouraged and spotted that kind of music nature in me. And she started teaching me. It was my grandmother, Bertie, and she would have played in the Evoke Cayley band. So she would have been a musician herself and saw that aspect in me. So she started teaching me piano and piano accordion as well. And then it was later, kind of when I was in school around the age of 16, that I just started to finally take it serious. And then I started training in classical singing and opera, and picked up, self-teaching myself the guitar. And then I guess going through many different experiences in school, like many other teenagers, I just found writing to be my form of kind of therapy and healing. So I was writing all my experiences, and then I was thinking, okay, I'm writing all these poems and words down. Can I put them to music? And so as soon as I started doing that, I realized, oh my God, I love this. Could I turn this into a job or a career? So I began kind of working on my craft, attending different songwriting camps internationally and in Ireland and all over, and learning about the skills of songwriting, how the music industry works. And so then those next few years kind of consisted of experiencing life, throwing myself in all different directions, as most artists would do, and then just learning and writing and learning and making loads of mistakes. So that's what I've been just doing the last few years.
That's fantastic. I mean, but I suppose it's true to say that in Ireland, music was part of family life, really, wasn't it? Much more so than other parts of the United Kingdom.
I think so. Yeah, there used to be more common, we'll say back in right, probably from the 1950s right up to the early 2000s. Um, we'd always say that people didn't lock their doors, which meant the doors were always open. So there was music always in the evenings in the household. People would come in telling stories, and I was kind of very lucky to witness the end of that with my grandparents' house, because my granddad was the storyteller, right, and then my grandmother was the musician. So they kind of had this kind of shared entertainment experience in the evening. And they'd make tea for all the neighbours. They'd come in and someone would start with a song. My granddad start telling a story. Someone would read out a poem. And this would go on, and it could go into the early hours, maybe 1 or 2 a.m. And I got to see a lot of that. And I think there was a real connection made. I think people really relied on music back in the day, and especially today as well, to have that kind of connection between one another. And it's been beautiful to have that aspect, because it's changing a lot more nowadays. You wouldn't see, sometimes people don't know their neighbors anymore, but back then it was fascinating and everyone was welcome, and you'd never know when anyone was coming. So, and if someone knocked at the door, you knew, okay, it's time now to start the entertainment. And that would just go on most nights of the week.
Yeah, that's so true, and it's so sad almost at the moment the way life is going. But let's take a little break, and we'll play one of your tunes. And it's a blessing in disguise. Tell me about that one.
Writing this track was interesting because the song is really inspired by the best thing that never happened. So we've all had those occasions where we think, we're willing something to happen, and in an aspect, it's been promised, and then something happens and it doesn't happen, and
I
then
do that
you
every
end
week with
up.
the lottery.
Well, this is the thing. But for me, always one of those occasions where it was the best thing that didn't happen, because another opportunity came along that was far more aligned and made a lot more sense for where I was at, and turned out to be way better because it connected me with different people that I wouldn't have met if I was at the other opportunities. So it's funny how life happens. So it was one of those things to realize it's a blessing in disguise. I think most people can relate to that, from whether there's relationships they've gone through that didn't work out the way they wanted them to. So yeah, this is what this track is all about.
Great.
and it's recorded in the UK.
Yeah, let's have a little listen to it.
Call never came back to me. I thought I lost the only shot that ever really mattered to me. I walked away with empty hands, but empty hands can understand. Every note that closed a door was making space for something more. You were a blessing in disguise, the best thing I could leave behind. Thought I'd crash when the dream said goodbye. Turns out that dream was a beautiful lie. I was blind, now I see the light. You were a blessing in disguise, the best thing I left behind. When I was drowning in the doubt, everyone was moving forward. While I was being counted out, I cried for chances I had missed. I cursed the luck I couldn't bend, but everything I thought was over was clearing room for what would mend. I walked away with empty hands, but empty hands can understand. Every note that closed the door was making space for something more. You were a blessing in disguise, the best thing I could leave behind. Thought I'd crash when the dream said goodbye. Turns out that dream was a beautiful lie. I was blind, now I see the light. You were a blessing in disguise, the best thing I left behind. I thought the world had passed me by, I let the moment fade and die. I didn't know I'd come around, was how I found higher ground. You were a blessing in disguise, the best thing I could leave behind. Thought I'd crash when the dream said goodbye. Turns out that dream was a beautiful lie. I was blind, now I see the light. You were a blessing in disguise, the best thing I left behind.
Well, we have a blessing in disguise here this morning on the show. It's Ciara Lawless, who's just sung that lovely little song, "A Blessing in Disguise." And Terry says, Terry, that's all the way from Bonn in Germany. She's so good, makes a gloomy day bright and sunny. Oh well, there we go. Thanks.
Well, I agree with Terry, because my mother's Irish, and I love to hear an Irish accent. And you've got such a lovely accent.
Thank you so much. Well, that's so sweet, Terry.
Compliments are flowing in this morning, aren't they? It's funny, really, because while we were talking, when you were singing there, you mentioned the fact that you ran a flower shop, and that's interesting because my daughter ran a flower shop for about 4 years. And well, she didn't run it; I ran it. But she did the posies, and I did all the work. You know, but it's
you
hard
know
work.
yourself how much work is involved.
It is. That's right. And you only really get twice a year. You get Mother's Day and Valentine's Day, and
that's it.
That's when you make your money, and hopefully to take you through the rest of the year. You know, so. But now you are very heavily involved in singer-songwriting. And do you get up to many gigs? Are you out and about all the time, or?
Yeah, so like most musicians, to support a lot of my original music, I gig as well in a wedding band. So I'm out with them 2 or 3 nights a week, which I find is great for keeping the vocal muscles up to scratch for recording and stuff. And then I have a lot of my own original music gigs as well. I think last year I totted it up. I did about 75 original gigs. So this year as well, I'm planning to. I'm back and forth, to be honest, between Ireland and the UK for gigs. So I have Three Wishes Festival now coming up in Glastonbury that I'll be returning to this year, so I'm looking forward to that. And I'm going to announce as well a little mini UK tour again, because I was in the UK last year for a full month touring. And I have to say, I am amazed at the music scene in the UK. There's so much talent over here. And what I love is that there is so many different platforms for artists that I think we could definitely learn a lot from in Ireland in
I
terms
was,
of creating that sense of community.
yeah, I was going to ask you that because you just said there's so much talent, and there is so much talent around, really, but it is so difficult to get on board the real train, isn't it? I mean,
I
yeah,
think,
go on.
go on.
I was going to say, although there's a lot more platforms that can launch you to stardom, isn't there?
I think it's what I think you give what you get what you give sometimes. And I don't know if every artist would probably agree with me on that, but I feel like I've devoted my life really to music. I think with naturally enough with music and art, I think if you don't treat it like not word, I guess the word's not it maybe like a business, but if you treat it like a job that you turn up to every day, which is you'll bring your energy, you'll bring your enthusiasm, you'll plan things, you'll stick to it, you'll get it done, get it achieved. I think if you show up with that mindset, you can definitely achieve a lot more and a lot more can come for it. But I do think if you're sitting back thinking or imagining there's someone coming to save you or someone coming to find you, I think that's where a lot of musicians could struggle more with that because there's a lot of high expectations then, and then if you don't meet them, that can be disheartening. But I feel like you have to first off love it and know for yourself why you're doing what you do. And if there's joy coming from creating, then I think you've hit the sweet spot. But I think if you have the gift and that access to music, I think it's important that we share what's on our mind because I think that's what artists are here to do. We're here to paint perspectives, to offer people those different views of looking at things.
Yeah, I mean, they're very good points there because I mean, in a way, you've got to adapt your hobby, your love of music, to a work environment, haven't you? And it must be slightly difficult, is it, putting the two together, as it were?
I think you need a lot of dedication and focus and a lot of like planning because if you're not organizing yourself, and I definitely have to, I when I say this as well, I'm also listening to myself, but if you don't treat it with that focus and that routine, like every day, I think everyone should be working on it a little bit, and it's not. I think it's in some cases it's maybe a luxury for everyone to be full time at music, but if you're lucky enough to have time. I think sometimes it's that option of going, am I going to scroll on my phone for that extra half an hour or an hour, or am I going to put it into something that I love? And I think it's really asking yourself where you're going to place your time. I think that's a big thing. And today we've so much opportunities, like back in the past, where how they had no way of just uploading a song within 5 minutes or 10 days to a streaming platform and being able to promote it. People had to go door to door, venue to venue, in hopes maybe a promoter or someone in the music, let's say inner circle, would see them and maybe take a chance on them, where now you can negotiate deals, you can promote your own thing, you can create your own community and very much so take control. So while there's a lot of debate about streaming and the industry changing, I think you have to put a positive frame on it because there's more opportunity now than there's ever been.
Yeah, I mean, it's fascinating listening to you talking about that because at the end of the day, it is a business, and you've got to have the ups and the downs, haven't you? And the good and the bad sides of it. Yeah.
Absolutely. I think it's all part of it. I think it's a real journey, really being an artist. You learn a lot about yourself.
What's been your favourite gig?
Ooh,
About 100 of them, I suppose.
And I have some dream venues as well I'd love to perform in, but I think probably a few of them in the UK actually as well. I had one in it was a concert that was organised. It was mostly actually UK musicians, and I went over as well in Glastonbury in the St. Margaret's Chapel, and they lit it up with the most stunning lighting. And you can imagine in any of the churches, the acoustics are incredible to perform with. And it was just one of those situations where the sound was just done so well. Everything was just like heard amazing. Everyone came in. It was one of those gigs that was organized a week in advance. It sold out. And I'll just never forget the sound. You could hear a pin drop in that whole church throughout everyone's performances. It was just incredible. That was probably one of my favorite gigs where I got the chills. Yeah, there's something beautiful about performing in a venue that has been known for chanting or singing in it all those years. So that was probably one of my favorites. I think next to that then was probably my album launch last year in Dublin.
Yeah. Do you have a backing group, or are you a solo artist in that respect?
So we'll say the last few years, obviously I put out 2 albums, so Paint My Soul and Divine Intervention. I had my band with me and we perform in different places, and for the album launches as well, I'd have them on stage. And then with the new music I have now, it's kind of that more poppy dance vibes. So that's going to change a little bit, but I'm definitely going to have maybe a few dancers on the stage with me. Or, maybe a guy in the DJ booth queuing the tracks as well. So it's going to change up, I guess, with this album that's coming out. I wanted something a little bit different because I'm finding myself wanting to move a lot more. It's a beautiful thing to stand there, obviously, and sing and everyone, to watch. But I want to be able for everybody to move in that room. I think music, especially with everything going on in the world, things are a little bit heavy at times. And I feel like at a gig, I just want everybody to move and let go and forget about their worries and troubles. Yeah.
Yes, because I think sometimes a lot of singer-songwriters tend to forget that what they're putting together is an act, isn't it? It's a display, as it were, rather than just them sitting there strumming away and singing a song. You want activity around you, don't you?
I think so. I feel like with my musical theatre background, I love the art of the show. I love the show. I love the performance just as much as I do with the creativity and the writing. So I very much so, I like the theatrics of that. And I think there's so many artists that have done that so well that I can be inspired by. But I think it's really important that people go in there, and I'm not just feeding them music that has a lot of melancholy, but I'm really consciously being aware of what I'm putting in my music, the words, and how people feel after it. Because it's a beautiful thing to bring people into their emotions, but it's also beautiful to uplift them, because that's getting rarer, I think, a bit in music these days. Everything's sometimes tends to be a little bit negative or deep, but I think sometimes it's nice to just uplift people.
Well, I'll tell you what, you've uplifted us this morning on the breakfast show, the first one of the week, which is always difficult to do because it's a long week for us too. We've got to plod all the way through until Friday, but you've uplifted everything and completely. But there's no plan B, is there?
No. No, absolutely.
So one of our awful links, I'm known for awful links, but there you go. Tell me about no plan B then.
So, I guess a theme in my life has been no plan B. I feel like when I was 6, and you might have seen it in my press release, but I went through a massive experience, which for me made me really decide like that. I knew in my heart and my soul that was it. Music was for me. If we have time, I can tell you guys.
Lovely. Ciara, lovely to talk to you this morning. Thank you for joining us, and we wish you all the very best in the future. And no doubt, hopefully, you'll be joining us, when you've got something to chat about and another tune, yeah?
Absolutely. Thank you so much, guys.
Ciara, take care.
Take care.
Running fast with fire in my chest. I want it all, don't settle for less. Jumped in the deep, I was born to believe. This is my shot and I'm not gonna leave. Every step is a heartbeat. Dreams too big, I can shut it down. Eyes wide open, the world will see. I'm all in. No plan B, no plan B. Only one life that belongs to me. Chasing my fears. below. Breaking the rules, yeah, letting them go. Fear in my face, but I turn it a few. Living my dream like I already knew. Every step is a heartbeat. Dreams too big, I can shut it down. Eyes wide open, the world will see. I'm all in. No plan B, no plan B. Only one life that belongs to me. Chasing my fate's my destiny. No safety net, bet on myself ain't stopping yet. No plan B. No plan B. If I fall, I'll fall like lightning. If I win, I'll burn like fire. Either way, I'm not denying. This is my one desire. No plan B. Only one life that belongs to me. No plan B, no safety net. Bet on myself ain't stopping yet. No plan B. No plan B. No plan B.
And no plan B, but there is a plan B, because just after we said cheerio to Ciara, she said, I've got a little story for you. So come on, Ciara, let's have your little story.
Well, I was just saying with the track "No Plan B," a little bit where that kind of phrase came from was, and I've talked extensively, I guess, about it on just different radio shows. But when I was 6, I was in an accident, and a miracle, I guess, occurred. Like most kids at that age, I was very disobedient, and I wanted to create this like swing. So I escaped out of my parents' house, and I went out through the garden, and ran up through the fields. And I had grabbed a hula hoop at the time and a skipping rope from inspiration from a TV show called High Five. And so I had this creativity in my head. You know, my parents wouldn't get the swing for me till Christmas, but I was going to get it now. So I got the hula hoop swing, or the skipping rope, ran up through the fields, and there was these big standing screening washer gates that go in front of. They're usually in a quarry on front of a washer that washes rocks. So if the rocks fly out, they bounce off the gate and fly back in. Yeah, so you can imagine how strong these are.
Yeah.
And I had seen a few of them at the top of the yard. Now the people that delivered them in had placed them in the wrong area. They were meant to be in where the quarry was, but they actually had just left them at the farm entrance. So hence why I got to them. And one of them was kind of left tilted on the side, which also was wrong. So when I went up anyway, I saw the one tilting on the side, and I was like, that's perfect. I can reach that with the hula hoop and I get a lovely swing. So I went to do that. And when I hooked it, whatever way I did it, I pulled the whole thing down on top of myself, sliced through my right leg.
Oh, yeah.
And that was hanging off. And then I'm lying unconscious for about 20 minutes. I'm looking around. When I wake up and I look around, I can't see anybody. And I'm calling and calling. And next thing, out of the corner of my eye, I see my granddad exiting the yard with a wheelbarrow. Now, bear in mind, he was in his maybe late 70s, maybe early 80s at that stage. And he was deaf in both ears, and he refused to wear the hearing aids.
Oh dear,
because he was in that time of like not accepting it. And so I was calling for him, but he actually never heard me. But he always says something made him turn around.
Ciara, we're going to have to go, my darling.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to have to go, but thank you for your story.
Okay.
All right, and we'll talk to you soon. Okay. You take care. Bye now.